Professor, it seems the size and scale of Trump's sweeping victory again took a lot of Democrats off guard. Where did they go wrong?
Well, I'm not a political pundit, but it just seems like where there was a whole bunch of things that happened at the same time. And one was obviously Joe Biden didn't exit the race until 100 days beforehand, which didn't give Kamala Harris too much time to prepare. Obviously, people believed, Americans believed, certainly a critical mass, believed that the economy wasn't where they wanted it to be. And I do think that the Democrats didn't push the message of this economy probably being the best economy in the world sufficiently to convince people that they are in a good place. So where they went wrong, probably they're going to be doing a biopsy of this for a long time now, the Democrats will, to determine sort of where they went wrong. But clearly it's a very divided country, and it's still a very closely divided country. Despite the Electoral College win, it's a very closely divided country.
And I have to ask you whether you think racism and gender bias played a big factor. Is this country simply not ready for a female president, a brown-skinned female president?
I would be loath to say it didn't play a part. Look, when you have so many white males that refuse to vote for a dark-skinned South Asian woman, I think that you have to draw a conclusion that there is a bit of racism involved. I certainly wouldn't want to call everyone who voted against Kamala Harris a racist, but certainly racism and sexism, which is still alive in America, played some role in her defeat, I believe.
Well, Trump, twice impeached, is a convicted felon, charged in 4 separate indictments. What's going to happen to those charges?
Well, the state cases should have no impact on him at all. As you know, in New York, he's facing a sentencing in New York, which will more than likely go on as planned. I do believe that if there is a sentence imposed, it will be continued during the appeal, so I don't believe there's any impediment to him serving as president from jail, for instance. The Georgia case is a state case. That's ongoing as well. I certainly can't speak for the federal cases having smooth sailing going forward. It just seems like that the president, Trump, when he is president, he can obviously ask the attorney general to fire the special prosecutor, which he more than likely will do, and he said he's going to do that. He's going to do that, and then it's a question of what the next steps are for dismissal of those charges. The Department of Justice certainly can move to dismiss those charges, but it's up to the court to grant the dismissal. So it's never happened before, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens.
Let me just go over some of the charges. Indicted for plotting to overturn the last election, accused of mishandling national security secrets and obstruction, found liable of sexual abuse, defamation, inflating his net worth, found guilty of criminal charges stemming from a hush money payment to a porn star. Professor, will he ever face any kind of accountability here?
First of all, as it relates to the civil fraud charges, he's already been found liable for those fraud charges. He's already been found liable for the sexual assault charges. So he will be found accountable in those cases. He's also been found guilty in the New York State criminal case.
Professor, can he pardon himself?
He can only pardon himself for federal cases, okay. and that may indeed happen. But he can't pardon himself for the civil convictions and the civil sanctions that he's faced, and he can't pardon himself from the criminal state convictions.
And it's very unlikely that he will serve any jail time.
That is correct. Certainly during his presidency, he won't.
All right, let me move on to Project 2025. President Trump tried to distance himself from all of this. This is basically a right-wing agenda, 900 pages document, if you will. It lays out a roadmap for reorganizing the federal government. It includes politicizing the federal workforce, cutting the Department of Education, granting presidents the power to investigate opponents, restricting reproductive care, particularly when it comes to abortion pills, cracking down on immigration, slashing climate change. I mean, it goes on and on and on, Professor. How likely is it that some of these measures could potentially be implemented in the Donald Trump years in his second term?
Well, I think you'd have to say that's extremely likely, extremely likely. J.D. Vance wrote the foreword for that 900-page document that you called the Project 2025. So I think that there's a huge chance that many of these proposals in Project 25 will be brought forward and pushed forward in Trump's legislative agenda. I mean, it's too early to tell what the fallout will be. Remember, there'll be an election in 2026 for the House and the Senate. And the ramifications of doing too much or being too aggressive may, in fact, change the makeup of the Senate and the House in 2 years if they get too aggressive. That's the only potential pushback on whatever they want to do.
All right, we'll leave it there. I know I threw you a lot of questions. Certainly appreciate it. Paul Pelletie, thank you.